Greetings, brothers and sisters. Here it is, Monday the 19th, is it, of May? I think the 19th.
We begin tonight with breaking news as former President Joe Biden has been diagnosed with what they're calling an aggressive form of prostate cancer, which has spread to his bones. This is according.
Okay, so I'm calling BS on this right away, and I have something my wife sent me from Twitter which confirms it, but this guy was checked out by doctors more than any other president. He's been surrounded by a medical team. And so we know that he has Parkinson's. And so they were faking that forever. Like, he had Parkinson's when he was a vice president. And they let 4 years go by, and then they decided to run him for president. So we have a big history of cover-up, right? He had dementia, obvious dementia, since 2019 when they ran him again. I just made a huge video about him yesterday. And this story broke, and I had to have the video uploaded. And I, was traveling. I was kind of tired. And I was like, I'll just make this the focus of the video today. I'm glad I waited, because I could have slapped something together at the end of the video or put it at the beginning, but it wouldn't have been, thoughtful. But this just shows you how bad this guy was, right? He probably had cancer for a number of years. I mean, they might be saying this is turbo cancer. Let's get into it. It says here, Biden diagnosed with aggressive prostate cancer has spread to his bones. And maybe they're trying to blame that on his gait and his walk instead of the Parkinson's, which, whatever it is, right? Let's go back into it here.
According to his personal office, they just announced this. The 82-year-old former president's office says Biden and his family are now reviewing treatment options with his physicians. CNN senior White House reporter Betsy Klein is joining us now. And Betsy, obviously a lot of questions around this. What do we know right now?
Certainly, Jessica, a lot of questions going forward, but we know from the...
A lot of questions mean how long do you guys know? And, all of it, because they were planning to run this guy as for president again, right? Or maybe they just knew that they were told Trump's going to win, so it didn't matter. But he shouldn't have been president in the first place. And so the thing is, like, it shows you how degraded our system is. Because, another face thing. It shows you how degraded our system is, right? Because, it's not going to be a big story. Like him, if they came out and said he had Parkinson's this whole time as president, it's not going to be a big story. The Democratic Party is already embarrassed. It's embarrassed itself. But what Trump's doing is a disaster. So, Trump is either going to crap out or he's not. And he is. So, like, they're not going to let him save the country and the world, and he can't. So, like, that's not an option for anybody. There's no getting rid of $2 quadrillion worth of debt. I mean, the economy is completely effed. And so, there's no real option here. There's no option. People are going to vote because they vote, or they won't vote because they'll just like, I give up. And, then what? Like, what do they do? How do they distract people from the collapsing system? So it's just, I mean, and when does it just, get so bad that everyone's freaked out anyway? So, but we're in that kind of death spiral. Like, it's just obvious. Like, everything's like this, right? Oh, he has, the cancer is a representation of the American situation as a whole, right? He's got prostate cancer. It spreads to his bones, right? Turbo cancer or whatever. And who knows if that's even true, like the whole thing, but it's just a representation of the whole, everything, right? I mean, Democratic Party's been, well, at least we're not Trump for 10 years now. And the Republicans have been, well, we got Trump, and he kind of like got a lot of big excitement with Trump. He's got an enthusiastic fan base. And there's no second degree story. And when Trump craps out, then all those, remember how the QBs were after Trump crapped out the first time? Like, they had nowhere to go, and they were like, oh, a snake eating its own tail kind of thing situation. They're just, and then they, revived their belief system a little bit to, back him again. But when people realize he sucks, and the people that are Trumpers are all going to be like out. And then where do they go from there? Like there's going to be no enthusiasm. They roll out one of those Jeb Bush the fifth or whatever they have, whatever they have. Democrats got nothing, that would sell people that there's an answer here. They might have some post anti-Trump momentum for a little bit, but their party has sucked before, and it's been bad. I mean, mishandled of Obama's debt. Obama left $12 million in debt. The Hillary Clinton debacle, and all that stuff. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the Podesta stuff, all these things that they've just failed as a party, as a DNC. Just bad politics, and the Republican Party was hijacked by Trump, and that's a short-lived scam. I mean, people are going to be depressed and deflated, and going into just a big wake-up call that your lifestyle is gone.
Personal office of former President Joe Biden that the former president has been diagnosed with what they are describing as an aggressive form of prostate cancer that has metastasized to his bones. I want to read you a full statement from the former president's personal office. It says, last week, President Joe Biden was seen for a new finding of a prostate nodule after experiencing increasing urinary symptoms.
Okay, so, the prostate is something they're constantly checking. And they're, they really want to put their finger up your ass and touch your prostate. I mean, some doctors doing that. If you've ever seen the Impractical Jokers, it's a punishment they've done for one of the jokers, right? And so they're constantly checking the prostate, and especially as you get older. Like this guy, I'm sure he enjoy. I'm sure he's like, hey, it's time for my prostate exam. They're constantly checking this thing, and it swells up, right? So it's enlarged prostate's a big problem, and then they worry about the after effects, right? There's a way to prevent this. There's supplements. I think zinc. I'm not doing medical advice here, but you can look up ways to. Zinc is a big part of it, I think. Low zinc levels. But whatever, right? So there's, but they're checking this guy constantly for everything, especially for something like prostate, and it's going to swell up. So difficult urinating because the prostate controls, whether you're incontinent or not. We know this guy's been wearing diapers for a long time, right? So all that stuff, and so there's no way they wouldn't diagnose him till late in the game. I mean, where the prostate's gotten so bad that it's spread to his bones. Like, this is complete bullshit. There's something I have to read for you in a second here, but it's something they check all the time, and he's an allopathic guy. He's got a doctor that travels around with him.
On Friday, he was diagnosed with prostate cancer characterized by a Gleason score of 9 with metastasis to the bone. While this represents a more aggressive...
A score of 9, so grade group 5. I've heard, stage 4 cancer, but what is this, a 9? So that's like 9 out of 10, right? Is that what it is? But it's fucked, right? I mean, if it's already getting into your bones.
With metastasis to the bone. While this represents a more aggressive form of the disease, the cancer appears to be hormone sensitive, which allows for effective management. The statement goes on to say that Biden and his family are reviewing treatment options with his physicians. Of course, former President Biden, at 82 years old, made history as the oldest sitting U.S. president, and there were so many concerns and scrutiny about his physical fitness to serve another 4 years ultimately.
So what we've been looking at just recently is that a lot of people are saying, and I'm not a medical person, that cancer represents parasites. It's parasitic. If you treat for parasites, it goes away, and which they've known forever. I think they just want to shut the guy up. Given that CNN has turned on him, this tape was just leaked, which I covered in my last video about him being senile. They're trying to, at some point, like I said, there's 2 hand grenades that were the Democrat Party pulled the pin on 2 hand grenades in 2020 when they put Joe Biden as president and he picked Kamala Harris as vice president. Each one represented a hand grenade that was going to go off at some time. Joe Biden's dementia and his just being sucky. I mean, he sucks. Like, even if he didn't have dementia, he just sucked. I mean, it's not Like he just was horrible as a politician. He was rejected by the Democrats 3 times, where he was never considered a serious candidate. 4 times when he didn't run against Hillary, they picked Hillary over him, and Hillary was not well liked. And so Joe Biden has never been somebody they took seriously as a presidential candidate. I don't know if they just put him in there because they knew they could turn him into a puppet, or because he was the kind of guy that might sway some independent voters because he had this kind of tough guy, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania thing that he did, where I'm from Pennsylvania, and I work union, all that kind of stuff, like the way he talked. There are some Republicans that like Joe Biden as one of the Democrats they liked. So I don't know what their thinking was there. I think a big part of it was they knew they could puppet him because he was a complete, shill, and he would do anything. Like he didn't care. He was not passionate about anything. He was, he doesn't have some, it's just all performative. But either way, they rolled this guy out, and then he picked Kamala Harris that nobody wanted. The Democrats she couldn't even get 1% of the Democratic vote in the primary. She was a disaster. And these grenades blew up in 2024. So, and you knew they were going to happen. And I have to believe it was intentional. They knew this was short-lived. Let's loot as much as we can in 4 years. We'll put Trump back in here. He'll take the blame. He'll run the country into the ground. And then we'll reboot this whole thing later. I mean, as part of a plan into something that, you'll get a new deal that you're not going to like, right? You'll rent everything and like it. You won't own anything and you'll like it.
Ultimately leaving the president to make the decision back in July of 2024 to drop out of the presidential race. Of course, he has contended that he believes he was indeed fit to serve. And I want to read to you a little bit from a letter from his former physician, Dr. Kevin O'Connor, who said in a letter back in February of 2024 that Biden was fit for duty. He has sleep apnea, which is being treated. He has non-valvular atrial fibrillation. He's being treated for high cholesterol as well as acid reflux and seasonal allergies. Of course,
and he shits his pants. We put him on a diaper. He's been on a diaper for a while.
We have asked the White House, the Trump administration, as well as a spokesperson for Dr. Biden, the First Lady, for comment and reaction to this concerning news. Some signs of optimism, of course, that this type of prostate cancer can be responding to it says it appears to be hormone sensitive, which allows for effective management. But again, quite concerning that it has indeed spread to his bones. Now, the former
it's kind of concerning. Bone cancer kind of sucks. We think bone cancer, kind of fatal. I don't know. And he's old as fuck and just weird. We might get rid of him, and so. I mean, I think he's fucked. I don't know. He's just been fucked for a while, and maybe Jill can find a new guy.
The president has maintained
Dr. Jill Biden.
Relatively low profile since leaving office in January, but we have started to see him reemerge on the world stage.
Yeah, they cut that shit out because, he's just a disaster. Reemerging.
Attended the funeral of Pope Francis back on April 26th, and then on May 8th, he was featured as a guest on The View alongside the former First Lady Jill Biden. Now, we do not know where the former president is being treated, but he is in Wilmington this weekend with family, according to a source familiar. And of course, cancer and curing cancer is something.
Cancer schmancer.
That is so near and dear to the former president. Back during the Obama administration, after his son Beau Biden died of glioblastoma and aggressive brain cancer, the then vice president
The Bidens are very susceptible to aggressive cancers.
Established the Cancer Moonshot, which was an initiative with a goal of ending cancer as we know it. It was reestablished.
How'd that work out? So, no, we're going to know on that. The turbo cancer that's taken over. Was this a fail? And the cancer moonshot, just like the moon landing, was it fake? Is that Bono? Is that fucking Bono up there?
2022. So again, very concerning news. Some signs of optimism, but we will be tracking.
What do you mean optimism? Who gives a fuck, right? Like he's going to slink back down to fucking Delaware, and dodder around for 6 weeks and then be done. I mean, what the fuck are you talking about optimism? Like, who gives a shit? Like the few people that are Biden fans that realized they were fucked by this guy and his team of people, with Kamala Harris and the rest of them, as Trump destroys everything the Democrats fucking like and love and all that shit. What do you mean optimism? What the fuck are you talking about?
It's quite closely reaching out to all of our sources, Jessica, and bringing you the latest updates as we get them.
Yeah, and Betsy,
Yeah.
just underscoring, this is breaking news. We're still seeing this all.
It's breaking fucking news. Let's take a breath in this breaking news. I mean, Joe Biden. What do you think how many? You think he had 10 years left? You had 5 years. He wasn't going to make it to the end of his term. I mean, the guy. Look at the guy, right? He's got, and you know, he wouldn't be able. The Parkinson's would have gotten really bad. They would have hit him away like they do with Reagan. There's no way he was going to win. There was zero chance of him become president again. So whatever plan there was, whatever intent there was here, Joe Biden shit the bed, like everyone knew he was going to do. They looted. They ran the guy for 4 years and like a weekend at Bernie's. They did whatever the fuck they wanted to do. Looted as much as they could. Probably took quite a handsome amount of money out of the Ukraine deal, laundering money through the Ukraine fucking war bullshit thing, whatever. And now and he was supposed to be a placeholder for Trump's second term, where Trump really did a number on the fucking country. Because, they don't have a solution. America isn't going to be a country that absorbs or uses 25% of the fucking world's resources anymore. Like, that's it. America's done. And it just shows you. This is the kind of way it goes out. Of course, all the turbo cancers have been going around, all that other stuff.
All kind of play out. But what about public support for the former president? I noticed some people are starting to make public comments on this.
Yeah, we are starting to see an outpouring of public support again. We haven't heard anything just yet from the White House. We have asked for reaction, but we are going to be watching all of these, it's shocking news and hearing.
It's not shocking fucking news. Did anybody go, oh yeah, this is shocking? That bastion of good health and virility, that guy, no way his prostate's got cancer. That guy's got the prostate of an 18-year-old dude. Like, what the fuck are you talking? It's shocking. He's got the prostate of an 18-year-old college student. All right, so let's go to something else here. I don't know who this woman is, but she had somebody else on, and she talks like she's on PBS or NPR or something. That very soft-spoken kind of, which I don't know why CNN's going with that. They already have Abby Phillips that does similar stuff. Although she has a panel of people that gets aggressive. But, people want to be stimulated. And now CNN seems to want to calm things down, which,
Joe Biden has been diagnosed with an aggressive form of prostate cancer. His office revealed the diagnosis yesterday, saying that it had spread to his bones.
She's good at reading, which is better than Jen Psaki. Like, she has a fluidity in the way she speaks. But it's, you don't want calming now when you're trying to get ratings, right? People react to the way I talk. Like, I actually talk a lot faster when I'm not making videos. Like, I had to purposely slow down my speech, and now it just happens normally. Like, whenever I pick up the microphone, I talk with more, purpose. And, it used to be I had so many ideas and my mind works quickly that I would talk really fast, right? And people complain about it, but it's calming from a standpoint of the world's, especially now in the year of chaos and all these things, and that the energy that's there from the meditation that I do is, it's part of it. People, can relax. People listen to these videos to go to sleep, right? But if I really wanted to, I would exacerbate people's emotions, right? Like if I wanted to do better viewer wise, I would use, like Alex Jones shit and all that stuff that they do. Because people want to be stimulated. They don't want to be, calmed down. But CNN, people watch the news for shock value. And somebody with a calming presence isn't, they just don't make a lot of good decisions. I mean, I think it's a good decision, not for ratings. Like everyone should be calmed down. Like there's a plan here. There's God's plan. And so there's no reason to panic. It's just, you got to accept that, God's plan is now not what you want. Oftentimes it isn't, right?
Was found after a nodule was discovered.
He's got a fucking nodule. He's got a nodule the size of a grapefruit in his prostate, and they just found it. He had this grapefruit-like nodule sitting in his diaper. And they looked at it and they're like, oh my God, it's really big. Let's check him out. Holy shit, it's cancer.
The statement goes on to say that while this represents a more aggressive form of the disease, the cancer appears to be hormone sensitive.
Boom, hormone sensitive. Boom, it's it. It's hormone sensitive. Holy shit, it's good. It's a good kind of cancer. We injected some fucking estrogen in there, and the next thing you know, he's, what they're trying to say is he's trans. They're going to make a mangina out of his prostate,
which allows for effective management. The news has led to an outpouring of support from leaders across the political spectrum. President Donald Trump saying, quote, he's wishing Biden a fast...
Melania and I are saddened to hear about Joe Biden's recent medical diagnosis. We extend our warmest and best wishes to Jill and the family, and we wish Joe as fast and successful recovery. Because he wasn't very successful as president. He was the worst president in his history, as I often like to say, and he was deserving of such things. But, I wish him well. I feel for the guy. Jill, too. Fucking Jill. I mean, what is she going to do without Joe? And so, I mean, I'm really, me and Melania are so saddened to hear that he has a nodule the size of a grapefruit in his soon-to-be mangina. And we just feel so sorry for him. And maybe Melania can share some tips about having a mangina. I don't know. We'll do tea.
Fast and successful recovery. And Biden's old boss, former President Barack Obama, praised his ability to...
Michelle and I are thinking of the entire Biden family. Nobody has done more to find breakthrough treatments for cancer in all forms than Joe. And I'm certain he will fight this challenge with his trademark resolve and grace. We pray for a fast and full recovery. Well, he didn't do many breakthrough treatments. Was he the guy who invented hormone therapy?
Fight this challenge with his trademark resolve and grace. Joining me now to discuss, Dr. Jamin Brahmbhatt, urologist.
Jamin Brahmbhatt.
Orlando Health Medical Group Urology. Good morning to you. Welcome to CNN This Morning.
Good morning. Happy Monday.
So I want to start with what we heard there, that this cancer is hormone...
They couldn't get Gupta? Where's fucking Gupta? Gupta doesn't work on the weekends?
Sensitive. I think prostate cancer is extremely common for older men. Can you talk about what it means for treatment, this aspect of the hormone sensitivity?
So we diagnose over 300,000 men with prostate cancer a year. Out of those, only about 5 or 7% we will diagnose like President Biden's diagnosis, where they already have metastases through the rest of their body. So this...
Look at him go. He's doing this gate thing. He does that fake run. So like 5%. So 5 to 7% are people, the guys who don't go see a doctor, right? Wait to go see one because they have this big swollen prostate and they're, in pain and urinating blood. And, it's somebody who the symptoms are there. If you go to a doctor regularly, which I don't, I'm not a doctor person. I'm not an allopathic medicine person. I'm a preventative person, right? But the people who use doctors, who are doing allopathic things, and, there's all kinds of medications and things that might be causing prostate, side effects. He's taking all kinds of things for his Parkinson's, which, I discussed in my last video. A doctor straight up on MSNBC came out and said, this guy's got Parkinson's. And anybody could see it. First-year medical student would fail if he couldn't recognize this guy with Parkinson's. He's walking Parkinson's. And so, why would a guy who has this much medical scrutiny be in the 5 or 7%? Let's go back to that.
Out of those, about only...
Here it goes.
And this aspect of the hormone sensitivity.
So we diagnose over 300,000 men with prostate cancer a year. Out of those, only about 5 or 7% we will diagnose like President Biden's diagnosis, where they already have metastases through the rest of their body. So we do have lots of treatment options, but because it's already metastasized, because it's already elsewhere, the options are also very limited. So we can't do anything that's curative. You can't cure it. So I saw some of these statements where...
So he's got cancer until he dies. He's going to die of cancer. So you're saying... Of course he is. He's metastasized his fucking bones, right? So there's no optimism here. I mean, the optimism is this piece of shit will be gone from the fucking face of the earth. And don't think I'm being insensitive because we're all dying, right? Like, you know, people are like, oh, you know, you should be more sensitive. Not that anybody here is going to say that, but you know, just in general, the guy's like, fucking, this is all about cover up. Like, we don't know what the fuck's going on with him medically. They probably want to put him in the ground before people figure out he had Parkinson's and move on, right? Because they're not going to go after this guy after he dies. The same way no one gives a shit about Hunter Biden anymore, right? No one's going to lock Hillary up anymore because they disappear you. Like Hillary will show up at a fucking convention, or she'll show up once in a while on The View or something, but she's been disappeared, right? And you know, when they disappear you, all the vitriol goes away as well. The people that hate you, you know, the people the Republicans that hate a Clinton, the Democrats that hate a Trump. You know, once Trump, like if Trump was in jail, they'd be like, all right, we're over it. We're over our hatred for him. And they move their hatred onto something else, right? And so, you know, Biden's going to disappear, and it's like, you know, they're trying to erase these last 4 years, pretend they never happened, because it's a fucking disaster for them. The only thing they have is Trump is, you know, going to probably do worse. But other than that, you know, they don't want him walking or doddering around, remind everybody that he was senile, and then now probably had prostate cancer. You know, I mean, this is like a deception of the American people. This would be a huge story in the 80s. I mean, but they got away with it with Reagan anyway. Reagan had Alzheimer's for 2 years. You know, the American people get deceived. And, you know, I mean, it's not anything new. But the huge story is the cover-up. Because there's no way that that he didn't get diagnosed with this earlier, or maybe he doesn't even have cancer. I mean, there's all these things.
He'll have a recovery, a support. But the reality is the cancer is always going to stay with him. So the treatments that are out there are more medical based, either hormone treatments, steroid treatments, radiation treatments. They're all there to stabilize the cancer or slow down its progression.
So I'm hearing you saying
He's fucked, right? And we're good.
this movement to his bones, this is really the development that is.
You know, again with the NPR stuff, right? You know, commie presidents. This is like a sensationalistic story, but not really, because you know it's kind of fake or whatever it is. All right, let's go to the tweet here. My wife sent me this morning. Donald Trump Jr., that piece of shit. Thank God that he'll always be just Trump's son. He doesn't have a political future. What I want to know is how Dr. Joe Biden missed stage 5 metastatic cancer, or is this yet another cover-up? I hope he knows that Dr. Joe Biden is not a real doctor. Remember, they wanted Dr. Joe Biden to be in charge of something that they were pitching that on The View. You know, she's a doctor of education. She has a PhD. And Tucker Carlson read her thesis. You know, she has to write a paper for her doctorate. And it's abhorrent. Like, it's just, I'm not an academic person, but it's like a joke, right? She's a moron. Dr. Stephen Quay, who I don't know, I guess he's got a check mark. Prostate cancer is the easiest cancer to diagnose when it first starts and to watch it progress to bone metastasis. The PSA blood tests show the rate of cancer cell growth, even the most aggressive form, takes about a 5 to 7 year journey without treatment before it becomes metastatic. Metastatic, one of those things, or none of them. Who gives a shit? I only have to say it for today. You know, when cancer metastasizes, and I mean, when it goes like nuclear. Now, let's say this is turbo cancer, which why would he get it? Because they didn't give him the bloop. They don't give that, you know, they don't give that stuff to the, you know, they don't give that shit to themselves, like I said. And so, you know, it's the prostate is what keeps you from peeing your pants all the time, right? And so there's a gland there that is constantly being checked for being swelled or whatever it is, right? And as you get older, there's going to be issues. So they're going to check him. There's no way he didn't get checked for prostate, you know, there's just no way, right? That they weren't checking him regularly for prostate issues. The guy, again, a big-time cancer person. Big-time medical person. And, you know, obviously having lots of health issues. And, without the idea of turbo cancer, then he had this he had this before, and they were treating it because they said it goes, without treatment, it takes that long to metastasize. What about with treatment? So he could have had this for 8 years, right? Longer than 5 to 7 years. Now, he might have been treating this when he was with Obama, meaning it would be malpractice for this patient to show up at the first diagnosis with metastatic disease in May of 2025. It's highly likely he was carrying a diagnosis of prostate cancer throughout his White House tenure, and the American people were uninformed. And so, of course, right, it's just, or he doesn't have prostate cancer at all. Like, they just want to get rid of this guy. They don't want to, that's an easier way to, they don't give a shit what he looks like or what his team looks like. The Democratic Party just want to pretend Joe Biden didn't happen. Because not only did he suck, and not only was he showing signs of dementia, but he gave way to what's happening with Trump. Like, they're being blamed for Trump's second-term election. Trump was unelectable. He had a hard no from 52% of American voters. They were never Trumpers. But they ran Kamala, so they were like, I guess I'm a Trumper. I guess when they ran this bitch, I got to be a Trumper. So... And that whole thing, the debacle of the Democratic Party's failure. And they're still reeling, and CNN's going in on him now with the whole bullshit thing that's happened. And it's very clear that the guy had dementia. And, CNN, they release these reports that I just covered in my last video of a doddering old man that was sympathetic. And CNN, they're not going to charge him with his mishandling of classified documents. So he committed a felony, and he should have been, prosecuted for it. But the guy's like, we're not going to get a conviction. This guy's too gone mentally. And the White House reacting, and CNN's now covering it, and MSNBC's covering it, but they didn't go out and they were covering it on their network that nobody watches, but they weren't putting clips up on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. So they weren't, publicizing their criticism of him. And now, how hard is it to criticize a guy who has a fucking prostate the size of a grapefruit, right? So... Okay, so I asked Gemini about this. I have one more doctor thing to get to for MSNBC, and then we'll move on. I asked, how long does it take for prostate cancer to metastasize and become bone cancer? The time it takes for prostate cancer to metastasize to bone varieties significantly from person to person, varies from person to person. It depends on several factors, including the aggressiveness of the cancer and how early it is detected and treated. There is no set timeline. Here's what the information suggests. Okay, so I got sidetracked there. My dog threw up on the floor, and then my wife and I went for a walk, and we talked about this thing, and I watched a little video, which I'll show you, of a local doctor who cries, complete BS. So let me just go back to this thing where it said, just got to find my place. I was at, there's no set timeline. Here's the information suggests variable timeline. In some cases, it can take up to 8 years for prostate cancer to spread to other parts of the body, typically the bones, however. In other instances, the spread can be more aggressive and happen more quickly. So, time to castration resistance. For men, the metastasized prostate cancer takes an average of 2 to 3 years for the cancer to become castration resistant to hormone therapy. But this can also be shorter to longer. The survival rate after mastitis, the average survival for a new diagnosis after metastatic prostate cancer is 5 to 6 years. But this is an average. Some may live much longer. He's going to be gone quick. And so, aggressiveness of the cancer, initial treatment, how the primary prostate cancer is treated can influence the likelihood of timing of a metastasis. Individual biology, overall health, geriatric factors, obesity, and smoking. It's crucial to understand, even when prostate has spread to the bones, it's still considered prostate cancer and is treated with therapies for prostate cancer. Bone metastasis can occur many years after primary tumor has been treated. Regular monitoring, including PSA tests and imaging, is needed. And so what this doctor is going to say is, even when you get this form of cancer that's metastasized, it takes over a year or over, for it to go into the bone. So it's just the only way this would happen is if they didn't check him at all for prostate cancer, but more likely he had it back when he was vice president, and they would have given a thorough physical before running him in 2019. And so it's, if this is true, if he does have cancer, it might be just some bullshit thing they're doing for sympathy. Like they're just making shit up because they just are proven liars, right? So then I wrote, so how did Joe Biden get regular checkups for personal doctors as president go undiagnosed for so long? Based on the information available, the discovery of former Joe Biden's prostate cancer occurred following a routine physical exam. Here's a breakdown of what the reports indicate. Like all presidents, Joe Biden undergoes regular and thorough medical exams. These exams are part of the standard procedure for ensuring the president's health. Reports indicate that a small nodule was discovered on his prostate during one of the routine physical exams. The discovery then necessitated further evaluation. That's bullshit because it's already spread to his fucking bones, right? So there's no way that's true, right? The diagnosis of prostate cancer, characterized by the Gleason score of 9 and metastasis to the bone, followed the further evaluation. It's important to understand that prostate cancer can develop and progress in varying time frames. Also, the early stage of prostate cancer can be asymptomatic. Prostate cancer, especially in the early stages, may not always present obvious symptoms. Regular screenings are crucial for early detection as they can identify abnormalities before the symptoms arise. The Gleason score indicates the aggressiveness of the cancer. A score of 9 is considered a high grade. Age is a risk factor. In essence, the cancer's discovery resulted from a routine checkup, highlighting the importance of regular medical examinations, even in the absence of noticeable symptoms. So, the prostate is a big deal as you get older. Now, I had hemorrhoid surgery. My parents both had hemorrhoids. And as you get older, shit that your parents went through, medical issues that your parents went through and your other family members start showing up for you. Like you start having things they had because you have the same biology. And my parents both had hemorrhoids. So I got them and it sucked. And I had surgery and it sucked. And some of you guys were here when that happened. They put me on, the guy lied to me, the doctor. It was a whole fucking mess. But my prostate swelled up from the surgery. And then also it might have been from, I was on, it was painful. Like it was like I had to take pain meds. I was not going to take them, but there was no way I could. It was just so painful. So I took OxyContin and it was just messed me up. And I had to use a catheter, which sucked because my prostate swelled. And so I've been aware of that as a thing. And I take some prostate stuff, some herbs and things, and I've taken those for the past couple of years. Not that I've had any issues with it since, but I'm aware of it. And so it's a constant thing. And I don't go to regular allopathic doctors, but if I did, they'd want to give me a prostate exam quite regularly, right? And so there's no history of prostate cancer in my family. But, you'd be aware of it because you'd have difficulty urinating and the prostate would swell. And it just happens for older people in general. And it's usually, like I said, based in I might have been a Dr. Berg video or some Berg video I watched about being usually men who have prostate issues, they have low zinc. And so, but you can take too much zinc, so that's a whole thing, right? So it has to be whatever it is. But this guy, a president we don't even need to say it over again. It's just, this wouldn't have happened. And so I wrote, this is not my question. They are lying. A president gets thorough and regular checkups, including prostate exams, so they are lying. Raising a valid point about expectation of thorough and regular medical checkups for a U.S. president, it's understandable to question how aggressive form of prostate cancer, especially one that metastasized, could go undetected. Here's a breakdown of considerations that might clarify the situation. And it just says some of the things that they'd said before. It's just repeating. This is what sucks about the AI bots. They oftentimes can't go outside. They'll agree with you. They're very agreeable, but they won't go outside what the mainstream story is. But I'll ask one more question here, then we'll watch the video. Okay, so I'd asked one more extensive question from the AI bot. The Biden administration lied about Joe Biden's cognitive decline for years. He was showing signs of dementia in 2019 that were very noticeable. I have a master's degree in counseling and have done many psychological assessments, but you did not have to be an expert to see Biden was having cognitive issues that were getting worse over time. Many of us saw this despite Biden administration lying about it and the media lying and gaslighting us all as something so obvious. They finally started to admit the obvious in 2023, the media and some Democrats, but Biden's handlers continue to lie and gaslight. In the summer of 2024, after his debate meltdown and the Clooney letter, the media finally began to question his fitness after it was revealed that a Parkinson's specialist had gone to the White House at least 8 times. MSNBC did an interview with a Parkinson's specialist who said it had been obvious for a while that Biden had Parkinson's, and a first-year med student should have been able to diagnose him just by seeing him. He talked about the Biden's gait stiffness and movement, his gait and stiffness in movement and other obvious symptoms we have all been seeing for years. It's the same people who lied to us about Biden's having Parkinson's and many other things are now saying they just are finding out that he has late-stage prostate cancer. This is just silly. You raised a series of serious allegations regarding the Biden administration's handling of the president's health. Specifically, this is where they just state back what you say. Specifically concerning his cognitive abilities, potential Parkinson's disease, and now prostate cancer. It's important to address these claims with accuracy and nuance. Cognitive decline. It's true that concerns about President Biden's cognitive abilities have been raised by various individuals and media for several years. These concerns have been based on observation of his speech patterns, memory, and public appearance. The White House consistently maintained that the president is mentally fit and that any perceived issues are due to the age of speech impediments. It's also true that people within the medical field have made statements that his cognitive decline is obvious. The claim that Parkinson's disease specialist visited the White House multiple times and President Biden exhibited symptoms consistent with Parkinson's disease has circulated. No, that was a story. Medical professionals have publicly discussed President's gait and other motor symptoms. However, the White House has officially confirmed or denied these claims. It's important to understand that the gait and many motor symptoms can be caused by different things. Of course, you would say that. The recent disclosure of President Biden's prostate diagnosis raised questions about the timing and transparency of the administration communication. As you pointed out, it's understandable to be skeptical given the previous controversy surrounding the president's health. The idea that late-stage prostate cancer was just found in a president who receives constant medical care is a very hard thing to believe. You know, it's kind of saying it. It agrees with you in a very, kind of. I'm with you, but almost condescending way. Yeah, kind of with you. And it goes on for there, the whole thing. In conclusion, your concerns reflect a broader debate about transparency and accountability in presidential health. These discrepancies between public observations, official statements, and media coverage contribute to the ongoing discussion. No, they're lying pieces of shit. Okay. You're never going to get a confession from an AI bot that works for Google. But you'll get something. It kind of says, yeah, it makes sense, but, we're still not ready to declare that this is, bullshit, which it totally is. All right, let me go to these other 2 interviews here. So this is a local D.C. radio TV show station that's a little bit less, the fact that they've lied consistently, because the fact that he's showed that he had dementia when he fell apart in the Biden debate, and then all these things, the book by Jake Tapper, they knew for at least a year that he was not functioning. They saw the decline. It didn't just happen overnight. And so they covered it up and lied about it, saying he's great and all these things. They all saw it. And we have multiple reports and, all those things. That guy Johnson, the guy who was head of the Republican House of Representatives guy who went in there, and I want to say Bob or Bill. I can never remember his first name. It's probably, when I see it, I'm like, oh, yeah, so obvious. Don't tell me, don't care, don't need to know. But he, had that report that they were surrounding him, and he was not aware of what he was doing. Everyone knows fucking that, right? It's just, when you're caught lying this bad and you continuously lie, and the media treats you like you're not liars, which happens all the time, whether it's the economic people or the medical people, the experts who fuck us, and they're wrong, and then they don't ever apologize, and they hand them the power to fix the problem that they created. Like, it's just, if I wasn't in favor of the complete collapse, or I believe it's God's will that the system is going to collapse, I'd be angry all the time. Like, I believe this is part of the, it confirms everything that I believe and what I understand to be, the plan, and it's unfolding right in front of us. So for me, it's just, it's not great, but this is what's supposed to happen. But this guy, and what's interesting, I watched this video and I just had deja vu about it.
Outpouring of support after learning he's been diagnosed with an aggressive form of prostate cancer that is
Like, this is the way he walked down the fucking stairs.
now spread to his bones. Mr. Biden's personal office says he was diagnosed on Friday after increasing urinary symptoms. The former president is 82 years old. A source familiar with the Bidens' thinking tells NBC News they're meeting with doctors and considering multiple treatment options, including
The walk.
hormone treatment. Now, for more context on this developing story, we're joined by Dr. Jonathan Wong. He serves as a professor and chair of urology at MedStar Washington Hospital Center.
He was also my surgeon earlier this year. Dr. Wong, good to see you again. Thank you for your time this morning.
Way to go, Dr. Wong. Save this guy's prostate.
You're not treating the former president, obviously, though. This is your field of expertise. When you hear that he's been...
So, because it's safe to assume that you're wearing an adult diaper, bro. I'm not...
treating the former president, obviously, though, this is your field of expertise. When you hear that he's been diagnosed with an aggressive form of prostate cancer, what strikes you about that? What are your concerns? And I guess what I'm getting at here is it odd that his cancer has progressed so much at the time of diagnosis?
Boom. So that's the obvious answer. And we haven't heard anybody else ask it. I mean, I'm sure they might ask it on Fox. But MSNBC, as far as we know, and CNN, at least in one of the things that I've seen, have not asked that question. The obvious question, and the answer is fucking no, right? Because, he probably had this for 8 years, and they were treating it. If they were treating it, God knows how long he's had it. And so, that would mean that they ran this guy with prostate cancer and cognitive decline and didn't tell people. And it was fucking obvious. I mean, Jesus fucking Christ.
Yes, no, thank you for having me, Tony.
Yes, no, thank you.
And Jimmy, clearly, whenever we see high Gleason score of prostate cancer, we know that that is a lethal form of prostate cancer. The fact that it has already spread to the bones, consistent with stage 4 prostate cancer, is quite concerning.
Stage 4 prostate cancer, right? So, again, a swollen prostate would cause pain, discomfort. There's no way there's no issues. Like, he had stage 4 cancer develop. It's going into his bones, and then they find, there's a nodule in there. Come on, fucking come on. It's just the fucking, it's the audacity of the lies, right? The audacity of deception, the audacity of hope, the audacity of these lies. Like, after getting, like, fucking, railed over the obvious mental decline, they're going to come back out. All right, let's just pretend we just figured out he's got prostate cancer. Now, either he has it or he doesn't. But if this is a true story, then he definitely had it, and they knew about it for fucking years, right?
Fortunately, based on that report, that it is hormone sensitive, which means that it's a very much manageable, it's not a curable condition, but certainly manageable condition where hormone suppression can keep the cancer in remission possibly for a very long time.
Yeah, it ain't happened in his case. They want this guy out. He's fucking done. Like, I would say he's got months.
The speed at which this kind of cancer can grow can really vary from a person to person. But the fact that this is a highly aggressive form of prostate cancer, it can progress very quickly within 12 months. But exact timing of when it occurred and how fast it actually progressed, it's hard to determine, without knowing his medical records previously.
So within 12 months, he's saying that for it to go into his bones, I mean, it's just, again, 5 to 7% of men who get diagnosed with the cancer when it's metastasized is, not this guy, because those are guys who don't go to the doctor, right? And you'd have to ignore some symptoms of it for quite a long time, right? And this is an old guy that's getting poked and prodded, and I mean he's constantly under medical surveillance and medical fucking the eyes of doctors. And they hid his Parkinson's for a number of years. They hid this. I mean, what else are they hiding, right? Is he pregnant? Like, fucking what else are they fucking hiding from this guy?
Dr. Wong, the former president's cancer, as we've heard in the reporting, has spread into the bone. Is that common with prostate cancer?
In general, no. But this particular grade of cancer, yes, it's very common to develop early bony metastases. I've certainly seen patients within 12 to 18 months present with metastatic cancer when the Gleason score, which represents the potential aggressive behavior of this cancer, is very high. So, it is unusual for someone to be diagnosed with such high-grade cancer, but when this type of cancer forms, it can definitely progress very quickly.
Yeah, so he's saying it's high, like let's listen to what he said.
Unusual for someone to be diagnosed with such high-grade cancer, but when
they would get diagnosed earlier, especially with the prostate, because the prostate is, there's deeper organs, right? That the cancer could, you don't feel a lump, whatever it is, right? But something with prostate, there would be swelling, there would be issues, and they'd be checking this guy all the fucking time, right? We'd be walking around with the doctor's finger up his ass. I mean, like fucking, there's no way, right?
this type of cancer forms, it can definitely progress very quickly.
Apparently, the former president is considering that hormone treatment. What is that? How does that work?
He's not considering shit.
Prostate cancer is mainly driven by testosterone. So simply suppressing and modulating our testosterone level with medications, you can actually cause cancer to regress significantly. There's also...
Okay, so testosterone is responsible for your immune system. And that's, zinc boosts, like there's a lot of zinc in, say, oysters and things. So the things that are considered aphrodisiacs often are, they have a lot of zinc in them, which helps boost a man's testosterone. And so suppressing testosterone opens up all kinds of issues with other, in terms of your immune system and things like this. And if they're going to give him estrogen and create a mangina, whatever, like fucking Jesus Christ.
Radiopharmaceutical that's now available that can target specific bone lesions. In some cases, radiation may be needed for local control. And if President Biden has significant urinary issues despite receiving hormonal suppression, sometimes laser surgery to alleviate urinary outlet obstruction may be needed.
Yeah, doctor, just a quick question here. Oftentimes...
So he can't pee. So he's walking around with a catheter because it's just, come on. I mean, it's who wants to live like that with tubes coming out of your fucking body all the time, all that shit, right? Like, so he's, I mean, they're just kind of trying to make him into a sympathetic figure with this new revelation. I mean, it's coming at a time where a story just broke, where Jake Tapper's book comes out, and it's, Axios and Jake Tapper, two liberal shills, Democrat shills, who are now turning on Joe Biden. And then right after that, they release these documents, these audio files of Joe Biden not being able to remember dates in 2023. And then, in a report that said the guy's guilty of fucking mishandling documents, but we won't get him convicted because no jury's going to convict this sympathetic, doddering old fucking fool. And so, I mean, and Joe Biden bring up his son, the whole thing I just covered in my last video. And so they release all that information. Joe Biden's taking a fucking beating, even in liberal media. And he's got cancer. So don't leave him alone. He's got cancer. You guys are attacking an old man with cancer. This fucking victim consciousness, fucking bullshit, right? So all right. Well, one last thing with MSNBC here. Okay, so the media people here, we know they're dealing with liars, right? Joe Biden fucked them, the mainstream media and all the Democrats with what he did in 2024. You fucked him with Kamala Harris, and all of it. All of the stuff that I know. And so, the mainstream media it's their duty to ask liars when something's peculiar. It's very peculiar for a sitting president this old, any sitting president, to get a late-stage diagnosis of cancer when they're checking him for everything, and certainly his prostate. Like, this would be a real concern, right? Everyone knows that, all the things I've said. And, they know this. And so they all, behind the scenes, are going, yeah, it sounds like bullshit, right? All the things I've said, the reasoning, the timing, all the things. And so let's see if they ever get to that point. Like, that we'll look over the next couple of days, how long the media starts to show some, verbalizing skepticism. Not across the board, one or two people or whatever.
Oncology at the Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine and medical director of the Johns Hopkins Proton Therapy Center. Doctor, thank you so much.
Proton therapy.
For joining us. First, your, general assessments of the diagnosis and how it was detected. Do you have any immediate questions about the timing of this and the severity of this diagnosis?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me. And yeah, I do.
So that's kind of a real question, this guy. I think this is he the Muslim guy that gets in trouble? I don't know.
Do have a number of questions just to try to get a better understanding of his diagnosis, the stage, how advanced it is. We received some information, noted that it's an aggressive cancer, form of prostate cancer. I saw a report that indicated specifically a Gleason 9 prostate cancer. We classify prostate cancer through the biopsy process and assign it a score, which is known as the Gleason score. And that scale goes from 6 to 10. And anything 8 to 10 we call high risk and has the most potential for metastasis or spread. And that defines, both the curability and the treatment options and the overall management strategy and the survival. So those are a lot of questions to get around to get a better understanding of his cancer.
His office has described it as hormone sensitive. Can you help us
so you didn't answer the fucking question. Is it unusual? Is it strange that it took him that long, and also the timing?
What that means?
Like, how long did they know? When did he get this diagnosis? Like, when did he get it? Did he get it yesterday? Did he get it over the weekend? Did he get it 3 weeks ago? Because timing, they release things purposely. Like, if they release something on the weekend, it's usually they want the story to die because there'll be new news on Monday. Like, the weekend is, people don't pay attention to the news. So they do document drops and stuff. And so they did this over the weekend, the same time that, it was coming out that Joe Biden's audio tapes were released. And that's not a fucking coincidence. So they wanted to change the narrative. The narrative was, this guy obviously had dementia in 2023, and, it wasn't like he got it overnight, so what the fuck, right? And that was, everyone's hitting home with this. He didn't know who George Clooney was. Those were headlines. And now the headlines are, he's got a fucking prostate the size of a grapefruit, and pretty soon he'll have a mangina when they cut off his nuts, right? Because testosterone is making it go,
Yeah, so prostate cancer, when it's first diagnosed, frankly, all prostate cancer likely is going to be hormone sensitive. The good part, usually we're telling patients, is that prostate cancer responds to hormone manipulation. That is, it uses testosterone to progress and advance. And so if we give treatments that essentially remove testosterone.
Yes, exactly. Let's just cut off every man's nuts and we'll get rid of. Let's war on testosterone
from the body. It immediately
let's remove testosterone from the body.
Acts to halt the cancer and stop the progression and delay the spread. And so by default, by definition, prostate cancer generally, when it's diagnosed, is going to be hormone sensitive. And those are generally the first.
I thought they cut off his nuts when they got rid of him and should put Kamala in. Shouldn't have that when they denutted him.
Treatments that are applied for an advanced or aggressive case as is being noted as.
Dr. DeVille, another oncologist that I heard from mentioned that he was surprised that given that the former president has regular access to
boom, thank God, a real question. Hooray for you.
Healthcare and screenings, and of course is a former president, that it is only now that this was diagnosed after it had already metastasized to his bones. What do you make of that? is it just that this kind of cancer is so aggressive that by the
Come on, don't give him an out. Just ask him a fucking question. You don't have to give him you don't. It's not multiple choice. Let this motherfucker lie or not.
time he was screened again, it had already spread? How surprising is it, I guess?
It is a little bit surprising for someone who we expect to have very, close healthcare and management. On the other hand, there are some controversies within prostate cancer that make it, perhaps not so surprising. Our screening guidelines generally advocate for screening somewhere from around age 50 or 55 to age 70. And depending on a few different, screening bodies, either recommend, not screening past age 70 for prostate cancer, or if the man has a life expectancy less than 10 years. Having said that, those with risk factors, with, elevations in the blood tests or, family history.
So you're saying that they were given screenings? That's your fucking... You're saying that he didn't get a finger stuck up his ass as much as he... So like he didn't like his prostate being massaged. Is that what you're saying?
The other things, may continue screening later beyond age 70. And so it's unclear, whether the president was having something like a simple PSA blood test with or without a digital rectal exam to examine or assess your screen.
Sticking a finger up your ass and massaging it and checking your prostate to see if it's swollen. Which, is kind of invasive, and maybe he wasn't into that kind of thing. But I think probably he was. And, I don't think they give him a fucking choice, right? If you're going to be president, they got to know. And, come on. Like, the fucking, it's just stupid. Of course, anything controversial, anything that's surprising or strange means lying. This is abnormal. And, like, they should come out and say, when did he get diagnosed? When did he have his last screening? Like, just release his medical records. Because they can't do that because he has fucking Parkinson's, right?
Essentially for prostate cancer. We also don't know, there are some men who are actually being monitored with very indolent or unaggressive prostate cancer. They've been diagnosed and they're following on what we call an active surveillance protocol or strategy. And in that case, they may be followed for many years, and then eventually the cancer begins to progress and then requires treatment. So
that's the one right there. You're saying that's what was happening. They didn't tell us for years. He had it. They thought they could manage it, and now they're releasing it at an opportune time because they want sympathy or whatever the fuck it is. So like he's just like that scenario. He gave the scenario that's the one he probably thinks is the right one. That he's had it for years. I bet all these doctors think he's had it for years, and they've been treating him, and they've been zapping his nuts, and then didn't work because they've been doing hormone therapy, taking all the testosterone out of his body. And, who knows what that does to Parkinson's and all the other stuff that's happening, right? And so, I mean, he's gone. Like, this is it. He's going to disappear now completely. And he's been, whatever. Like, if they check in with him in 6 months, the guy, you won't even recognize him. Everything's going to deteriorate. You deteriorate when you retire. Everybody who retires and doesn't have any work, that's why I'll be doing some sort of farming and outdoor work until I die, because I enjoy doing it and it keeps you going, right? And, you have to have goals, you have to have things to do, you have to have, a routine and these things. People who just drink and play golf and they don't have any, and their kids and grandkids don't want to know about them, and they have nothing to offer them in terms of advice because they've lived shitty lives, and they fall apart. I watch my dad, just people who retire and don't have any work and don't have anything to bind their days together, you just fall apart. And once you stop being able to reproduce, nature's hard on your physical being. Things that once you stop, I mean, especially if you get rid of your testosterone and shit like that on top of it. And so, aging is, it's something where you have to have things to look forward to. You have to have goals and plans and work and things. And, these guys who live high stress, high pressure jobs, that's why he came back and ran for president. He retired as vice president, and he had diagnosed with Parkinson's and prostate cancer. And then they said, well, let's see, he wants to unretire, right? And so, he's done the whole thing. All right, I'm going to wrap this video up here. But it's all obvious. Like, I think it's fairly obvious that liars who lied about Parkinson's will also lie about this stuff, prostate cancer. And they're liars and, deceivers. And I don't know if the media is going to come around to this. I don't know if there'll be any scrutiny. Like, people probably just don't care. Trump will do something stupid in the next couple of days and they'll just change the narrative again. But we all know, their Democratic Party imploded. And if it wasn't for Trump sucking so bad, the Democratic Party would be, it wouldn't recover from this. But we live in strange times where this is just a 2-day story and then everyone will move on to something else. But, it's the ode to Jojo Magoo. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano, definitely important for the apocalypse. In the Ascension, everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.